The conference room door swung shut with a soft click that echoed like a gunshot in my ears, sealing me in with the wolves. I stood at the head of the polished mahogany table, my presentation slides glowing on the massive screen behind me, heart pounding as if it knew what was coming. And then she did it. Elena, the CEO's niece, leaned forward in her leather chair, her manicured fingers tapping a rhythm on her tablet like she was composing my eulogy. "Wait," she said, her voice slicing through the murmurs of approval from the executives. "Before we greenlight this project, I think we need to address the elephant in the room. Alex's projections, they're not just optimistic, they're fabricated. I've reviewed the data logs and there are discrepancies. Intentional ones." The room froze. My stomach plummeted, a sickening lurch like free-falling from a skyscraper. Fabricated. The word hung in the air, toxic and irreversible. I felt the heat rush to my face, my palms slick against the remote in my hand. The executives, 7 of them including her uncle, the CEO, shifted in their seats, their eyes darting from her to me like spectators at a gladiator match. Mr. Hargrove, the silver-haired CFO, cleared his throat, his bushy eyebrows knitting together. "Elena, that's a serious accusation. Alex has been with us for years. His track record." "Track record?" She interrupted with a laugh that wasn't a laugh at all, more like a scalpel glinting under fluorescent lights. She swiped her tablet, projecting a spreadsheet onto the screen beside mine. Rows of numbers, highlighted in glaring red, showing minor rounding errors I'd made in a rush last week. Nothing malicious, just human oversight from pulling all-nighters to meet the deadline. But she'd twisted them, inflating them into deliberate fraud. "Look here, Uncle, everyone. These aren't mistakes. They're manipulations to inflate revenue forecasts by 15%. If we proceed, we're risking investor lawsuits. I'm just trying to save the company from a disaster." Save the company. The phrase burned in my throat like bile. I opened my mouth, but words evaporated. Humiliation crashed over me in waves, hot and suffocating, as whispers rippled around the table. Elena's eyes met mine for a split second, triumphant, cold, like a predator savoring the kill. I'd trusted her. Mentored her when she joined 6 months ago as a junior analyst, fresh from her Ivy League MBA. Nepotism her golden ticket. We'd shared late-night coffees in the break room, her laughing at my jokes, confiding in me about her uncle's expectations. "You're the real brains here, Alex," she'd said once, her hand brushing mine. Flirtation. Manipulation. Now it all clicked into place, a puzzle of betrayal that left me gutted. The CEO, Mr. Thornton, Elena's uncle, rubbed his temples, his face a mask of reluctant disappointment. "Alex, explain this." His voice was gravelly, the weight of family ties pulling him toward her side. I stammered through a defense, my voice cracking like brittle glass. "These are rounding errors, sir. I can pull the raw data. It's an honest mistake from the dataset merge." But the damage was done. Eyes averted, chairs creaked as bodies leaned away from me. The meeting adjourned with promises of an internal review, but I knew the subtext. My career here was dangling by a thread. I stumbled out into the hallway, the sterile office air thick with the scent of stale coffee and printer ink. My chest tightened, breaths shallow and ragged. Anger surged first, a red-hot blaze that made my fists clench until nails bit into palms. How dare she? I'd covered for her early blunders, her botched client report that I'd quietly fixed, her tardiness excused with a white lie to her uncle. Heartbreak followed, a dull ache realizing our friendship was a facade. Her smile's weapons in a climb to the top. Resentment festered as I rode the elevator down, the fluorescent lights buzzing like angry bees in my skull. She wasn't just ambitious. She was ruthless, willing to torch my reputation to shine brighter. By the time I reached my apartment that evening, the city lights blurring through rain-streaked windows, obsession had taken root. I paced the cramped living room, the worn carpet muffling my steps, replaying the scene in my mind. Denial whispered lies. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. She'd apologize tomorrow, blame it on stress. But no, her eyes had betrayed her glee. Fantasies bubbled up, dark and vivid. Storming into her office, slamming the door, unleashing a torrent of accusations until she crumbled. Or worse, exposing her own secrets. I knew them. The whispered rumors of her padding expense reports, the late-night emails she'd sent me by mistake, hinting at cutting corners on compliance checks. Guilt flickered then, a cold draft in the heat of my rage. Was I any better if I stooped to her level? I collapsed onto the couch, the leather cool against my fevered skin, and poured a whiskey. The burn down my throat mirrored the fire in my gut. Moral conflict gnawed at me. Revenge would feel sweet, but at what cost? My job. My integrity. I stared at the ceiling, cracks spiderwebbing like my fracturing resolve. Sleep evaded me, replaced by fevered planning. Subtle at first. Gather evidence quietly, build a case. But doubt crept in. What if I was wrong? What if her save the company act was genuine, and I was the villain in my own story? Well, the way she'd said it, with that calculated pause for drama, it was theater, and I was the sacrificial lamb. The next morning, the office hummed with its usual rhythm. Keyboards clacking, phones ringing faintly, the aroma of fresh brewed coffee wafting from the kitchen. I avoided the executive floor, burying myself in my cubicle, the fluorescent glare harsh on my screen. Emails trickled in, sympathetic from colleagues, curt from superiors. Then hers arrived. Alex, let's talk. Conference room B, 2 p.m. My pulse quickened, a mix of dread and anticipation. Was this her olive branch? Or another trap? I arrived early. The room empty save for the hum of the AC and the faint scent of whiteboard markers. She entered precisely on time, her heels clicking like ticking bombs on the tile. Dressed in a sharp blazer and skirt, hair pulled into a flawless bun, she looked every inch the rising star. Alex, she said, closing the door softly, her voice laced with faux concern. I didn't mean for it to blow up like that. But you have to understand. Uncle's been on my case about proving myself. Those errors. They were glaring. I had to point them out. Glaring. My hands trembled under the table. You twisted them, Elena. Made it sound like fraud. Why? I helped you when you started. She sighed, leaning against the table, her perfume, something floral and cloying, invading the space. Helped me. You patronized me. Let me fix that for you, kid. I'm not your project, Alex. This company needs fresh eyes, not outdated loyalty. Her words stung, revealing the resentment she'd harbored all along. Suppressed rage boiled in me, but I forced a nod, playing the part. So what now? You get my promotion. A flicker in her eyes, guilt. Or satisfaction. It's not personal. Business is survival. She paused, her tone softening manipulatively. If you own up in the review, say it was a lapse, I can vouch for you. We can move past this. Wait. I saw it then, the hidden motive. She wanted me diminished, not fired. A humbled ally under her thumb as she ascended. My mind raced, plotting. I'd agree, bide my time. Collect proof of her own lapses. The tension in the room thickened, her expectant gaze pressing like a weight. I murmured agreement, but inside, cold resolve solidified. This wasn't over. Days blurred into a haze of quiet calculation. I worked late, the office emptying around me, shadows lengthening across desks like creeping doubts. Sensory details anchored me. The click of my mouse as I sifted through shared drives, the bitter taste of vending machine coffee fueling my vigil. Inner thoughts warred. Fantasies of her downfall clashing with fear of repercussions. What if I got caught? Moral grayness haunted me. Her betrayal justified mine, right? But obsession grew, resentment a constant companion, heartbeat syncing with the hum of my computer. Subtle hints emerged. An anonymous tip to HR about expense irregularities. Too risky. Instead, I documented screenshots of her altered reports, emails where she'd bypassed protocols. Heartbreak lingered, memories of our friendships now poisoned. Was there ever real connection or just her using me? Guilt pricked, Revenge might destroy her, but hadn't she destroyed me first? The review meeting loomed, suspense coiling like a spring. I lay awake nights, rain pattering against windows, planning the strike. Not yet. Let her think she'd won. The slow burn built, tension rising in stolen glances across the office, her confident smiles igniting my fury anew. Part 2, The Reckoning. The boardroom felt smaller this time, the air charged with unspoken verdicts. I sat rigidly, suit itching against sweat-dampened skin, as the executives filed in. Elena arrived last, poised as ever, her uncle nodding approvingly. My heart hammered, a drumbeat of anticipation and dread. The past week had been a whirlwind of inner turmoil, denial crumbling under evidence I'd amassed, fantasies evolving into a concrete plan. But doubt lingered. Was this justice or vengeance? Moral conflict twisted my gut. I'd become the manipulator now, mirroring her sins. Mr. Thornton called the meeting to order, his voice booming over the rustle of papers. Alex, we've reviewed the data. Elena's points stand, errors were made. Care to explain further? I swallowed, throat dry as sandpaper. Yes, sir. They were oversights, but not isolated. Eyes widened around the table. Elena's composure cracked, a micro-frown creasing her brow. I continued, voice steady despite the storm inside. In fact, while double-checking my work, I found similar issues in other reports, including Elena's. The room inhaled collectively. She leaned forward, laughter forced. Alex, this is deflection. My reports are clean. Are they? I projected my own spreadsheet, meticulously compiled. Her expense logs inflated by personal charges, spa visits disguised as client meetings, unauthorized software purchases. Whispers erupted. Her uncle's face paled, the familial bond straining. Elena, he asked, voice laced with betrayal. She stammered. That's misconstrued. Alex must have altered them. But her eyes darted, panic flickering like a faulty bulb. Tension skyrocketed, the air thick with suspense. I'd planted the seeds days ago. Anonymous emails to key executives hinting at discrepancies, subtle enough to seem organic. Now the harvest. As accusations flew, her facade crumbled. You bastard, she hissed under her breath, audible only to me. Rage contorted her features, raw and unfiltered. I felt a pang of guilt. Her ambition stemmed from pressure, a niece forever in her uncle's shadow, proving worth beyond blood. Layered motivations. Not pure evil, but desperation twisted into cruelty. My revenge felt justified yet hollow. The meeting devolved into chaos, voices overlapping like crashing waves. Mr. Thornton adjourned, ordering a full audit. Outside, Elena cornered me in the hall, her breath hot on my face. Why? I offered you a way out. Because you humiliated me, I spat, resentment pouring out. Pretended to save the company while stabbing me in the back. Tears welled in her eyes, heartbreak. Or manipulation. You think you're the victim. Uncle's groomed me for this, but I have to fight twice as hard. Your mistakes were my chance. Her confession hung heavy, revealing moral complexity. We were both pawns in a corporate game, betrayal born of survival. Obsession gripped me tighter. Had I gone too far? Fear clawed. If exposed as the whistleblower, I'd fall with her. That night, alone in my apartment, the city skyline mocking my isolation, cold resolve hardened. Descalate. Dig deeper. A late-night hack into her personal drive. Risky, but driven by fury. What I found shocked me. Emails to a competitor leaking company secrets. Not just ambition, treason. Guilt surged. Reporting this would ruin her life. But resentment won. I anonymized the evidence, sent it to HR. Suspense built over days. Office whispers grew, her absences noted. Inner thoughts raced. Doubt screaming I'd become the monster. Pacing my room, the tick of the clock amplifying tension, I questioned. Poetic justice or overkill? The climax struck in the CEO's office. Summoned, I entered to find Elena there, face ashen. Mr. Thornton paced. Documents scattered. Alex, these leaks, traced to Elena. But the tip. Was it you? Denial rose, but she interrupted, voice breaking. It was me, Uncle. All of it. Confession. Her eyes met mine, resigned, almost relieved. I did it to force a promotion, prove I could handle crises. But Alex. He didn't deserve the fallout. Twist. She took the fall, protecting me? No subtle glance revealed her motive. By confessing partially, she mitigated damage, banking on family mercy. But the leaks were real, her betrayal deeper. Mr. Thornton fired her on the spot, tears in his eyes. Family or not, this crosses lines. As she left, shoulders slumped, our eyes locked. We're even, she whispered. But were we? My victory tasted bitter, unexpected consequences unfolding. Promotion offered to me, but haunted by guilt. Obsession faded to hollow resolve. I'd won, but at the price of my soul's graying. In the end, revenge's payoff was psychological ruin for us both. She vanished from the industry, whispers of scandal trailing. I stared at my reflection in the office window, the city lights blurring, wondering if justice ever truly balanced the scales.